Clash of Clans podcast, OG, episode 56. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody, where we do our best to get the number of the episode right, or at least do our best trying.
Very proud of you. Very proud of you.
Oh my
You've
lord!
come so far, Scotty.
I know it's just amazing, though. Still, one of these days. One of these days. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I am your host, Scotty827, joined by your lovely co-host, Tip Dog the 20. I don't know. I kind of lost my run up on that with all my descriptors. I'm gonna get my thesaurus out this week.
Is that you gonna look at the statistics in the thesaurus? The statistics in the thesaurus.
How are you doing?
Good. Are you enjoying this OP event?
Well, we did our little tournament yesterday, and I did mention to you, as we really briefly talked about it, but didn't want to get into it. Save it for the podcast. That the episode should be titled "Resistance is Futile." And
I love that.
And I gave in, and now I almost wish I wouldn't have.
That's the rub, right?
Yeah.
It's like these event troops are here, so you can use them and be amazing in your attacks, or you can stay the course, knowing that they're going to go away, but miss out on the opportunity for glory and greatness.
It's kind of like, and imagine how like Cinderella feels like the next day when she wakes up, or when like the magic wears off.
Oh, I thought you were talking about when she finally gets to the ball.
No, but
you heard what she said. I don't even know if I should be telling this joke. You heard about what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh my god, I can't remember it. I can't remember.
I'm sorry, I had something in my throat. Something in my throat. My bad. I'm sorry. Oh, excuse me.
Oh my god.
It's bad.
Well, I gave in because we started. So it was okay. These are the event troops of version 1.0 of the event troops for April of 2025.
So they're going to get a nerf tomorrow, from what we've heard.
See, and so those come out. We go to the first tournament, and I am sitting there watching everybody just destroy. And I didn't really have any time to get into go watch Shock's videos or anything like that. But I heard about it, so I was watching it, and I was thinking, no, I'm going to hold out because these are going to go away and yada yada. Then I look and I'm like, this is all month. Like I was thinking maybe it's so am I going to go the next 3 weeks? We've got all these tournaments coming up, and then I need all the help I can get in that region. And so finally, so I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. I'll try one of these attacks. And I was doing pretty well. Still not the best with it, and then right as I'm getting the hang of it, they say the nerf. And then we have a tournament tomorrow, and we can't use our event troops for that. So last night I was practicing back with my regular army, and it's like I lost it in a day.
You'll pick it back up quick, though.
Yeah. I'll have to say this. This is the one, not the one good thing. I think this is an interesting event. It did force me out of my comfort zone for one day, which I see like last night as I was attacking, or doing some like FCs. I started to kind of look at the pieces of my attack differently and then switch it up because I'd just been doing something else. And so it was like I was getting a fresh look at it, getting a fresh look at spells, use the clone spell for the first time, really, like strategically. So I feel like I wish it would have been down, in a very particular focused area so that you could, engage it on your own. So I feel like it'll benefit me, but it's like that conundrum, I guess. How about you? What are you thinking?
So I always have mixed feelings about event troops, and uh, just in case people are not familiar with the event that we're talking about, it's the WWE Friend or Foe event. There are 4 event troops. There's the Yeeter, which have you used the Yeeter at all?
Yeah, I was. That's the one I thought was the only one, and so
Right.
I was putting him in with my like normal army because I thought it complemented him.
So I think that the Yeeter is what the thrower should have been. So whenever they introduced the thrower,
Yeah.
what, 6 months ago? Now granted, not quite as strong. Like the Yeeter is an OP troop, just a little too OP. So not quite as strong, but the same concept. I think that the thrower would have been much more well received if the thrower had the Yeeter properties.
Well,
There's
what's the difference?
so the Yeeter throws like little characters, little guys,
Oh
and
shit.
then those little guys attack whenever they land. The Yeeter has
Guess I should have
5,500
looked
hit
closer
points.
at it. I thought they were
So
just shooting arrows.
the thrower throws these, giant arrows, but that's it. Once he throws the arrows, then it's done. But the Yeeter, whenever he throws them, the little eat mites or whatever they're called,
The
like they attack whatever he's throwing them at.
Yeeties.
The Yeeties, the Yeasters. The throwers also are way less hit points. Like a max thrower is 2,100 hit points and a Yeeter is 5,500 hit points. So there's quite a bit of difference in hit points as well. And they would definitely have to balance it. But I love the idea of the Yeeter better than I love the idea of the thrower, just because of the mechanic. That's the first
Yeah.
troop. And then we have, of course, the giant, which is ridiculous, 26,000 hit point, which in my
The
video
double G.
the double G, I accidentally read 260,000 hit points and didn't catch that mistake till after I posted the video. So I'm like, oh crap, I accidentally said that a troop had 260,000 hit points in game. And then the disarmor, which is way too strong. Number one, I don't think that it should have targeted defenses. I think it should have been just like the regular Valk, where it targets any building, because the fact that it's targeting defense is what's making it so OP. And then Kane, which walks directly towards the town hall. And the problem with Kane
He's like the
is
predator.
he
Predator Bane. That's what
he
he's like.
he doesn't deter even if you invis the building that he's hitting, which that's a mistake in my mind. Like they should have made it, if you covered up the building, then he went around it or he deflected. I don't know how else they could have done it, but that fact means that you don't have to have any skill in covering him up and doing a cane walk, for example, which is what I've been using him for. And you can just let him walk towards the building haphazardly, putting down your vis spells. Those are the troops that we're talking about. They're going to
Believe
be
it or
getting a nerf.
believe it or not, I failed on that gain walk several times.
It will fail on the wrong type of base. So it
Yeah.
it works best with a base where the town hall's closer to the center. So if the town hall's on one side where you're literally going to get nothing with the cane walk other than the town hall, it doesn't work very well because you don't have any type of funnel. You don't destroy any key defenses on your cane walk. And if you come in from the opposite side, your cane is not going to get to the town hall to be able to take it down anyway. So it
Yeah.
depends on the type of base for sure.
Obviously, I didn't really understand the troops. It's everything's going so fast with everything.
Hmm.
Like I had just got the Yeeters and like I'd warmed up to the idea of maybe using some event troops and then the other ones came out.
Yeah. And so I have mixed feelings about event troops, but the last time, most of the event troops up to this point for the last year or so haven't been so OP that it's been this ridiculous. But the last time we had such an OP troop was during Mashup Madness, which was October, I think, of 2023, which is right before you came back. But the lava loon was just as powerful as these troops. And Supercell did end up nerfing the lava loon, very similar to how they're going to be nerfing the disarmor. They're nerfing, some of the other troops as well. But I have mixed feelings about event troops because I understand how it brings life to the game. I understand how, for the casual player, it's a lot of fun to be able to just kind of release these troops and they just smash everything for 30 days. But also from the competitive side, like I have an issue with it because it's an unrealistic view of the game for 30 days. And although at the beginning it's kind of fun, like last night we were doing the world's warm ups, we were using all these event troops. It's like, oh, cool. I 3-starred in hard mode. I 3-starred again in hard mode. I 3-starred again in
Yeah.
hard mode. Yay for a 3-star. It's kind of like, yes, I can 3-star, but anybody can 3-star. So what's the fun in that? You know?
Yeah. For example, I think this is a good example from yesterday. We lost on time
Mm-hmm.
on one war. And so, because it was all 3 stars, which if I'm 3-starring in a war and not like in a hard mode, I mean, I would have been throwing a party or something if it would
Right?
have been, under normal circumstances. But it just moved that bar so much higher. Like, if you don't, like, I would have been letting everybody down if I wouldn't have
If
used
you
the
didn't
event
3-star.
troop. Yeah, you wouldn't have used the event troops and got that 3-star because it would have just handicapped us through the whole thing. Because I would not have been pulling out. I think I pulled out how many 3-star, like all the matches yesterday. Probably, I think I had a 1-1-star. Um,
We probably did like 10 matches altogether.
and I probably had like
Um,
7 three
yeah,
stars somewhere in
6 or
there,
7 3-stars, I'd say. Yeah.
and then a 1-star, I think. And those were I wasn't really super familiar with the mechanics yet because I think I watched Shock. I practiced for maybe an hour, and then went in yesterday with it.
I mean, that's how easy they are to use.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how
If
do
I
you
can do it,
feel?
then
Yeah, well, and I think you're to the point to where you appreciate, and it's a really hard balance where we don't want the meta to be too easy to where it turns off players who are like, oh yay, another 3-star, but also at the same time you don't want it to be too hard so that players are turned off by not being able to 3-star. Like,
yeah,
Supercell has played both sides of the fence here. Now, I know we talked about it before, but Town Hall 15 was so hard that evidently players were turning away from the game because it was too difficult. Well, you have these event troops where it's, super easy, or we've talked about this is almost the way that it was whenever Root Riders were at their peak before any of the nerfs, where you could 3-star almost as easily with Root Riders as you could with these event troops. And that was turning players off as well. So it's kind of this middle ground. So, how do you feel about it, being that you become more competitive over this past year and have improved so much? What are your feelings now that you played around with the event troops and are 3-starring
yeah.
so much?
I guess I am in a different spot this year. Like looking at an event troop and kind of being in a different arena. Like playing Legends and stuff too. I I don't want to like criticize. I mean, I don't want to like go super negative on
Right.
Supercell or anything like that because I mean, all things being said, I think really creative,
Very,
cool like
yes.
integration of the theme. I
Very
mean,
cool.
thinking outside the box like with the army camps um and there's a lot of it that I enjoy.
Mhm.
Like it is cool to see things change up. I do just wish that it was contained to one particular area of the game. So like with Clash Worlds, uh and because it's through a tournament hub thing, right? Like that it's not like there's people out there organizing their own friendlies, right? Like you go through a thing. I think
Right.
that I think that the Clash World should have stayed pure, or like, or said, okay, these are, event troops, um, and then Legend stays. Uh, right? Like, so it just went everywhere. So like when I went in to do different attacks, like in a tournament and to different, it was like I was always playing a different mode.
Mm-hmm.
Like with those camps and things like that. Uh, so I think it's really cool. I just wish they would, maybe it would have been like awesome to do a ladder for with the army camps like that, or did Legends and just said that it's going to be a week of this or something, but it's just too overpowered to like, I don't know, I don't want to say like, well, it's a little bit too overpowered to help you like like progress in your skills, right? So like I had to forget it and kind of do a bunch of stuff. Our bases aren't really going to be progressing that much because we're not defending against what we're going to be seeing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Um, and then what was the last thing I was thinking about with that? Uh,
So I
and
agree.
we're not
Like
we're not getting practice on our normal armies.
yeah, and I
So
agree 100%. Like I think that this is amazing. Like you said, thinking outside the box, very creative, an excellent collaboration with WWE, like the skins, the theme, the defensive army camps, the event troops, like all of it is amazing.
now the
Like they
Breaking Bad
they
theme.
they or the Star Trek theme.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like they did a great job with designing, and
yeah.
I
That you're
can
right.
I
I
can
did.
see how this would be amazing fun for the average player. And like, let's be clear, if there are, I don't know how many players, 50 million players who are playing Clash of Clans, 49 million of them are casual.
Yeah,
So for me, like we're not complaining here at all, but I agree that I wish the event troops would be left out of Legends, and and they've talked about the Legends rework, so I'm curious to get your feedback on this. But what if you could do your 8 Legends Legendly kits? Those do not have the event troops, and then if they do it where you can farm as much as you want after your 8 Legendly kits, well, then in your farming attacks, the event troops would be available. And same with like CWL. Like I wish that the event troops were not available in CWL, but
no.
didn't we have them towards the end of CWL?
Yeah, that was the piece I was forgetting. That was the piece I was like trying to grab out of my memory here, was they were introduced mid CWL,
Mm-hmm.
which, and I think that was the like catalyst of like, okay, disruption across the whole game. Like cuz it was during that really, that one time a month. So if they would have just started it right afterwards, I think like I maybe would feel a little bit different.
So this is also an interesting point because there are community based leagues, and then there are Supercell leagues like Supercell Clash Worlds. And although they have banned the event troops for stage 2 and stage 3 of the World's warm ups, they did allow them in the first level, the one that we were participating in, the only level that we will actually end up being in.
Yeah.
But like, if Supercell's going to hold an event, they're not going to ban troops, ban spells, ban certain pieces of equipment, because they want the entirety of everything that they've introduced to the game to be available to the player. And if they said, for example, well, we're not going to allow the Giant Gauntlet in, our Supercell sponsored league, then
Yeah.
they're essentially admitting that the Giant Gauntlet is overpowered, and that they should really, if we're being honest about it, they should. I'm not saying that it is, but if they said that, then they should. That would basically then be saying we should be nerfing the Giant Gauntlet, but we're not. We're just going to ban it from the league. So they're not going to do that. But with community based leagues, they can say stuff and put in rules in place like no epic equipment for this league play, or we're not allowing root riders because we think that root riders are overpowered, or we're not allowing, the hero revive spell because the general
Yeah.
consensus is that's OP. So that's a big difference between when Supercell hosts an event or hosts a league, and then community organizers host a league, and the positive or benefits that you can gain in recognizing that certain pieces aren't balanced as much as we would like. I don't. How do you
Yeah.
feel about that overall?
Well, I mean, I agree with you, and that makes complete sense. I think it was maybe my thoughts like before was that like so because CWL goes through that, or not CWL, but the Worlds goes through that tournament hub. It could be uh a little bit more controlled, right? I
Right.
think like, and so I was just thinking, yeah, and I now that you say it like that, I think you're right. Yeah, if you're going to introduce it, um, I don't. What was the question again?
I don't know. I
Uh,
forget.
well, well, I mean, yeah, I just maybe it was just the timing. As you're saying this stuff, I'm thinking like, well, would it have been if it would have been CWL, yada yada, would it have been better? But then we would have had this time when it's like, um, so overpowered you have to almost go perfect in Legends to make any gains.
Right.
Um, and and I guess it's just all these like different factors. So maybe if it would have been, I think number one, just as like my major complaint, not during CWL,
Hmm.
like really kind of took off the game and could have really like influenced
Outcomes.
outcomes. I mean,
Yeah.
like a disruption. Um, and then I guess with the tournament and the Clash Worlds and stuff, I think as you put it like that, I'm like, okay, I can see it. Uh, and then it also like if you are a clan that you just have 7 people, not too serious about the game, but want to do it and are really good with these event troops, you kind of get an even playing field of
True.
like you could, I don't know, like chance and whatever. Um, maybe evens it a little bit. So I mean, so that's good, but
Yeah, I would
no,
like to
it's
see
just
the
a
troops
lot.
cordoned off. Like I like
Great
CWL
way to put
is
it.
cordoned off.
Yeah, great way to
Uh,
put it.
Legend League has a fence around it, no events groups. And if we're looking at Legend League, like Legend League is such a minor percentage of the overall player base anyway. And I would think that if a player's competitive enough to want to be in Legend League, then the majority of players in Legend League would rather not have the event troops anywhere because they're testing their metal. Like they're
Exactly.
testing their capability, and these event troops are not a true test of a player's ability. So
Well, at least test it first.
yeah.
Make sure that you're not just going to wipe a base off. If there was, you can use it, but it was like it was powerful, but like you could lose
Hmm.
pretty easy. If things didn't go right, then it would have been a different story.
And then I think that, of like Clash Worlds, Clash warm ups, like obvious, that's an obvious cordon off to me. And
Yeah,
they recognize that for stage 2 and stage 3. So like I think they should have done it for stage 1 as well. But these more hyper competitive sections of Clash of Clans, definitely like cordon those off because they're only going to be here for 30 days anyway. Allow players an opportunity to use them outside of those fences, like 100%. Like they're a lot of fun, especially like on my lower bases where I'm not in Legend League. Like I'm gonna admit, like it's a ton of fun. Like I do
yeah.
cane walks nonstop. It's a ton of fun to do a cane walk.
Did
I'm
you?
a Town Hall 14 and I'm attacking a Town Hall 16 and I can 3-star it. Like, that's amazing,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And he
But
looks like Bane and the Predator put together.
right, right.
And so and then the invisibility spell, of course, when you said that earlier, I was thinking Predator, invisibility,
Mhm.
but I can't just stop doing Bane impressions
Yeah.
from Batman. I was born in the dark. When you were doing your attack yesterday.
Yeah. So what
Uh,
did you think about the defensive army camps? Like adding the troops that pop out whenever you destroy an army camp whenever you're attacking a base.
uh, creative.
Mhm. Do you think that this could be the future of army camps? Because this idea has been bandied about quite a bit.
You know,
I've done videos where I've said defensive army camps would be a good idea, weaponizing army camp, and there is an argument to be made so that we don't want every single building on the map to be a defensive building. Like the role of
yeah.
trash buildings is very important because it has to do with funneling, but also weaponizing army camps has been talked about. So, like, what is your impression of it now that it's actually in game?
At first, I was like, this is kind of weird. I failed a few times, not realizing, what the orange and the purple were.
Hmm.
Um, I could, but as it gets going, and it's like you're looking at the base and you're going, okay, I can hit it from here, but then this, and then I switch one of my camps around. So I'm like, if the double G wakes up, he's got a single inferno on him,
Hmm.
and like in kind of redoing defenses. So I don't know. I'd be down for it. I think it's cool because you're doing offensive strategy that's going to be your de- defensive strategy that's going to be an offense to as well. So like your army camp is going to where you put it is going to affect not only their attack but how you get hit.
Right, and an offensive player can use that to their advantage, and it goes back to base ID where the double G is in this spot, and I can use, a queen walk, for example, to go in, know that I'm going to destroy the double G camp, and it will alert the GG. The GG will be in front of my queen, and I can destroy so much more because I decided to do a queen walk in this specific section of the base.
Yeah.
So my initial response to all this at first was I thought that the defensive army camps were random. So when I
Yeah, I
first
did
started
too.
looking at it, I thought that it was randomized which army camps would be on our side and which army camps would be on the defensive side. And I didn't like that because that introduces RNG to a game that's very strategic. And if I don't know which troops are
Yeah.
going to be on my side and which are going to be on yours, then that's too much RNG for me. It can ruin an attack or it can make an attack amazing. And I
Wait,
and
what's
I
RNG?
don't like that. Random number generator.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
like so like in Hearthstone, for example, I play Hearthstone.
R-
When I switch cards or I play Battlegrounds, if I have a 6 card lineup that comes up, whether or not I get certain characters in those cards is based on the
Fate.
randomness of of whenever they switch. So whenever I press the button to get 6 new cards laid out, those 6 new cards are random, which means somebody else could get more lucky than me by getting 6 better options
Oh, you want to
than
control
me.
fate?
So I want to be able to control the strategy a little more, which is why I like Clash of Clans so much because there's very little RNG in Clash of Clans. Like it's a very
Yeah.
controllable environment, and introducing these defensive army camps introduced RNG to a level that I was not happy about. But as we were going on, I think, and I'm pretty sure that Kane and Double G are on our side every single time.
Yep.
And then the disarmer and the eater are on the defensive side every time. Knowing that going into it has alleviated my RNG fears, but also I think that this is a missed opportunity because I think if the defensive player could choose which two were on their side and which two are on our side,
Ooh.
that would introduce a defensive element that would not be RNG because it's not random at that point. At that point, it's like, where do I put the tornado trap? Do I put the tornado trap next to the town hall or do I put it next to the monolith? Because the player's likely to bring their dragons in right around the monolith. and I want the monolith to take as many things down as possible while they're stuck in the tornado trap. So from that perspective, the defensive player would say, well, on my base, I'm going to make the Yeeter on their side and Kane, and then I'm going to put the Double Giant on my side and the Disarmer on my side, and I'm mixing them up. And then as the offensive player, I can be like, I wonder which of these army camps the defender chose to make friendly and not friendly. And if this
Oh,
one's friendly, then
oh,
like I can look at the base and say, okay, I see that the double G is right next to the single Inferno Tower, which means it's likely that the double G is friendly because he wants it to die quick because it's right next to the single target Inferno Tower. So I can kind of look at the base and
so
figure
you,
out how I'm going to hit it that way.
so you're saying like you can't see that before you're gonna attack.
Exactly. So I have to guess
Ooh,
at which army camps. But what I didn't want was for it to be random. So for Supercell to decide which army camps are friendly, which army camps are foe. But if they allowed the player to decide which army camps would be friendly and which
that's
army
cool.
camps would be foe, that would introduce a new element to the game
Yeah,
that I think would be really interesting, that would affect attacks and would give like base builders something else to work with, because there would be whole strategies that develop of, well, I'm building this base. If you make the Disarmer, on your side and Kane on the other side, well, make sure you put this defense here. Or if you're attacking and you think that you can get double G on your side, then attack it this way with a queen walk. Like there
yeah.
are lots of different elements that could be introduced if Supercell
Oh,
gave the power to the defensive player to choose which army camps they wanted to be friendly and which army camps they wanted to be foe.
two things. Well, we, as you're saying this, uh, you could have army camp defenders was one thing that popped. So you could choose like down the road, right? Because everything's getting more powerful.
Right.
You could choose like kind of like a CC, but just
Hmm. Just
20
one troop,
housing space or
one
something.
troop, and that like maybe all giants or all barbarians or all or
Yeah, or
like
like
that.
20 space or something. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like a limited. Um, but for like on your idea, uh, the first two you encounter are like your offensive, or the second two you encounter, or it goes every other one. So
That's
like,
interesting.
so you could come in the one way, and then you would activate this, and oh, I accidentally triggered this. Now this is offensive or defensive. That would be kind of cool.
And it would be interesting from that perspective. Like if the first two army camps that you came across were friendly, and then the last two army camps were foe,
Yeah.
well, would the defender, to prevent that, put all archers in all four of the army camps? So it essentially canceled it out. So it didn't matter
Well,
on that side.
I guess I'm thinking about that one as like the one we have right now, right? Like, and
Right.
I know it's like the double GG, but I keep calling in my head. I keep thinking it's the baby giant because I told you yesterday. It like reminds me of the dancing baby from the '90s, the first like GIF.
Uh-huh. Right.
So, so if you had those people on those camps, that's what I was thinking. And then the other one was a separate idea, but it could work the same thing.
Interesting.
So like so instead of the random, each so no random, but you get to affect um which one appears. So it's not like it's hidden, but you get to affect it.
I think that Supercell could play with that. And I think that it would bring a perspective to attacking that would be interesting. I don't like randomness. So I mean, with any game, there's going to be a certain level of RNG.
Yeah.
So RNG, for example, if for example the king and a Yeti are equidistant from the monolith, like literally equidistant, the computer system or the coding has to choose which one the monolith is going to attack first. And let's say it goes after your king. Well, maybe you didn't want it to go after your king. You wanted to go after your Yeti. So there's very minor levels of RNG in Clash of Clans. But one of the reasons why I like it so much is because it doesn't really affect the overall gameplay like it does in other games which have much higher levels of RNG. And now, I think with Hearthstone, for example, when I play, really good players are able to use RNG to their advantage, very similar to like good poker players. Like the cards that come out during a poker match
Oh,
are completely random, but they're able to take that randomness and
I see
run
what you're saying.
statistics on the randomness.
Yeah.
And as a result, they know when to play and when to fold. So, like when to hold them, when to fold them, right? So they take
When to walk away, when to scream like a goat.
yeah, exactly. So they know when to put more money in. They know when to say, "Oh, I got a pair of threes. This is probably not going to win, so I'm going to back out. I just stop playing. Like I should quit while I'm ahead." So RNG in
Blackjack.
and of itself is not a bad thing, but I don't like it in general whenever it causes such swings and attacks to where strategy doesn't matter. So if it was
Yeah.
truly random, like I thought in the beginning, where any of the four camps could have been friendly and any of the four camps could have been foe, when I didn't realize that it was just Kane and Double G that were friendly and the other two were foe. Well, at that point, if I'm doing a warden walk and I'm thinking, oh, Double G's always friendly, and I start the warden walk on that side, and the double giant's gonna come up, ahead. Well, that turns out to be an enemy. I don't prepare for it appropriately, and he kills my warden, so I can't do the warden walk. Like that, part of it is skill, but part
Yeah.
of it is just the randomness of it that had an effect on the strategy that I planned beforehand. I don't like that
You
type
don't
of
want
RNG.
the universe passing judgment of through the randomness, like
Hmm.
which way it's gonna go today. Well, the world's against me today, right? Like if you keep losing attacks based on the randomness.
Right. And I think you can see that in my attacking style. So, like you've
Yeah,
commented before,
they're
is my
all in
troops march
order.
march to the beat, right? That's just because I like to play that way. I like to destroy
Oh, left.
this building, and this building, so that I know that my troops will go in this direction, and I plan for that to happen. And if randomness is introduced to that play style, well, then a player like me is not going to do very well because, like, I'm not as good with less planning, less
Yeah.
strategy, and randomness, which is
And
also why I don't necessarily like spam attacks, because a lot of times good spam attackers are really good with the randomness, because if their troop
it's kind of like
pierces off to the
riding the
left,
waves.
right?
Like,
Yes, exactly.
yeah. Well,
So if
and everybody out there listening, his troops do march to the beat. Like, and I'm not even kidding.
sometimes,
Like, no,
sometimes,
their legs get in motion. They're all lined up, and I think you can even make them stop when you say something.
you're
But but it's funny because you're like, because you like, I honestly didn't when I see your attacks like that, I go, wow, I'm in a different universe because it's like, okay, going through here. All right, everybody's going left. And it's like it swings around the outside and the inside at like with precision. It's really cool to see.
well, and Supercell's encouraged this over the years. So the overgrowth spell, for example, was perfect for this. Like that decreased randomness by a lot, because if you are a spam player, for example, you can put down your root riders, if you're doing root rider spam, or even dragons. Like you can use an overgrowth spell, put spam your dragons one corner, put down the overgrowth spell, and that ensures that they're going to march forward and not randomly spread out across the base. So, like, Supercell has encouraged this with different types of spells, different types of troops, different abilities. So, like, I don't think that they necessarily want to go down the random road, which is why I was surprised that they did the defensive army camps. But I'm okay with it. Like, I like the idea, but I definitely think it could be something that they could pursue in the future if it's something that they wanted to kind of look into down the road.
Would
We
you
could just
keep
seeing
it?
a precursor of it.
Would you keep it?
I think I would, but I think they really need to think hard about how they implement it. So,
What would you put on there?
as far the troops,
Yeah,
or
would you keep them like they are?
I like the idea that two are enemy and two are not. Like I really like that idea, but I would like for, as I said earlier, the defensive player to be able to choose which two are enemy and which two are foe, and like there's a certain strategy involved with that. And as an attacking player, I would have to guess, just like I would have to guess where the tornado trap is. I would have to guess which you can see what's in the camp. Like you can see that this is a camp of, you know,
Yeah.
whatever Valkyries. And I would have to guess at which camps were friendly and which camps were not. Like I think that would be a fun avenue to go down as like a strategic player. And it would also be, in essence, kind of another trap that base builders could use in order to try to trip up the attacker and to get the result that they want. You know, they could make the troop count low enough where it didn't affect the game in a massive way. Like if they wanted it to only hold 5 troop space, well then you only got a few options. You got goblins,
Yeah.
archers, barbarians, and a giant balloons, right? So you only have a few options. But whenever that army camp's destroyed, then one balloon comes out. Or if they wanted to go a little more intense, they could do like 20 troops or even 50 troops. Like it obviously it depends. It'd have to be something that they think through. But I do think it would be a cool addition to the game. And it's also a way to add, quote unquote, a defense when there's
Yeah.
no room for more, like no room for newer defenses. And they've been combining defenses for a few years now into the, ricochet cannon, multi archer tower, the geared up cannon, like all they've been doing combinations, but this will be a way to weaponize a building on the base already using the tools that they already have. And they've kind of already done it. So I wonder if it's a test,
Would you
for future use.
would you keep these event troops as army camp guards? I mean, like if they just said we're gonna keep these guys, or like the equivalent.
I think that it's too much power and it introduces too much RNG if the defensive player has the option. So the
But the troop
disarmor,
itself, like
I
on the
think that it,
camp, you're all
I
right with?
yes, yeah, right. So I think
Okay.
if we could choose the troop, but not Kane, not the disarmor, not the double G, not the eater. Like if I think it was troops like normal everyday troops, then I would like it, but not the event troop.
Okay.
Why? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I was just wondering, like, I was just wondering if you were talking about like defensive troops, or keeping, like, if you thought like the ones that are on there, the guards now are, if they kept them, and then we, they could, something powerful like that, like a one powerful troop.
Well, so arguably, the way that it's set up now is Double G and Kane are on our side every single time. At least that's what it appears to me, and I haven't
Yeah.
seen any deviation from that.
Yeah.
Um,
And let's say you could change them, but would you keep Kane? Would you keep the disarmor?
I don't
Um,
think so. I
no.
think I would use just regular troops, 20 troop space or whatever
Okay.
instead, just because like I've seen attacks that had no business 3-starring, getting a 3-star because Kane was or the Double Giant was released at the exact right time.
You can talk about me. Come on.
You're don't talk about me. Me, you know, or like and this is again in the beginning, part of this is the learning curve of learning the event troops. But in the beginning, I thought it was random. And so I'm starting with the Warden Walk, like I said, on the, at 9 o'clock. And there's the
Let's
disarmor
hope it's
camp
not
that's
her.
right there. And then I look away and the disarmor has killed my warden. I'm like, well, really? Really? Really?
Universe.
What?
Don't buy lottery
My
ticket today.
my fireball just destroyed a bunch of mines and barracks. Like what? Complete fail. But I'm used to that now, so it's all good.
What do you think about the new Epic equipment?
uh, the action figure, right?
Yeah, the baby doll.
I'm curious. What do you have a
That's what I
response
got.
to it? What are your thoughts on it?
It reminds me of the dancing baby. It kind of creeps me out. I mean, really, like, as long as I don't have to look at it, I'll be all right. But I saw the graphic. I'm like, oh, I can't. It's like,
It's like a horror movie.
it's kind of like a little nail on the chalkboard. Like, there's certain kind of creeps me out. Like, I don't know, stop motion animation.
I
It
don't
just
understand why they made the graphic for the epic piece of equipment so much different than what the actual giant looks like. Like, why didn't they just put the giant's picture in the graphic for the epic piece of equipment? They had to put this
Glamour shots.
horror movie Chucky version of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like animatronic.
Oh.
Um, I just watched a shock video this morning actually, and or maybe he was just using the giant. I don't know. I could see it being awesome for like a queen walk and like and just it is a piece of equipment that I could actually see taking out the mirror for or the healer puppet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if I could keep the mirror, put the healer puppet in, or take the healer puppet off, and then put the healers on the queen and get a lot out of it. And that's, I guess that's a big accomplishment. Like I think I said last, I can't imagine like what would replace it. But to have that tank out in front of her like that.
Yeah, and he's 18,500 hit points. Like, he's massive. So the king with the spiky ball and the earthquake boots on him is about equal to the giant whenever he pops out of the queen ability. So in
Oh.
essence, Supercell is giving us another king to place in front of the queen. So that's super powerful.
Oh.
Super powerful. Or it's kind of like it's about equal to the HP of 2 golems
Wait a
popping
second.
out in front of the queen.
Does he
So
pop out?
he does, and she goes invisible too. That's also something that I almost
Oh my
missed.
god, I didn't
He
realize that.
he has that, you know how on the hog puppet with the RC, whenever the ability is pressed or whenever the RC goes to auto ability, she goes invisible for 1 second.
Yeah.
The same thing happens with the giant with the action figure. So I was initially thinking that the only pieces of equipment that would work with the giant would have to be the magic mirror or the invis vial because those have the invisibility portion of the queen's ability, which would allow her to step away from the defenses that are targeting her, and they would change their focus onto the giant. But as I'm doing my research, I realize, oh, there is
Jeez.
there is a 1 second of invisibility with the giant, which means you don't have to put the magic mirror or the invis vial on her to use with the giant to cause that distraction.
Oh.
That opens up a world of possibilities, which means for a queen charge, if a player is really good at queen charging and they're going to come into an area that's very high DPS, you can actually put something like the frozen arrow on her, which has no active ability, it's all passive. And you will still get that distraction with the 1 second invisibility with the giant. So I think it's
Oh my
it's a
god.
very powerful piece of equipment. Um, I don't
Better
think
max it
it's
out before it gets nerfed.
yeah, well, that I do think that if it's so powerful, Supercell will nerf it. Like they've proven that already. If a piece of equipment is so powerful, it's used by everybody, they're just gonna nerf it.
Yeah.
Um, but also I don't think it's so powerful that I think if a player is personally finding more success with their attacks using, say, the magic mirror and the healer puppet, I don't think that's a bad option either. Like, I do think that
Will the
the
healer
action figure is more powerful, but I don't think that it's so powerful that other pieces of equipment are essentially worthless at this point.
will the healers heal the action figure?
They will, so that turns to healer AI, which healer AI, and we talked about this whenever we talked about the warden walks. So the healers
Yeah,
won't
thank God we
switch
did.
over to your super bowlers until the warden is completely healed. Like they won't even look for anything else. Their AI is such so that they won't look for other troops to heal until the warden is healed up. So if your queen is super low on health and the healer puppet pops out, well, the queen's going to be closest to the healers because I mean she's right there when they pop out. So they're going to focus on the queen first, but then once the queen is healed up, the healers will look around them, and if the giant is under fire and the queen is full health, well, they're probably going to switch over to the giant. It's very situation dependent, though.
Oh my God.
So it is powerful. Like
I think
it's a very powerful piece of equipment.
there's just so much going on that like I just haven't been able to take a look at anything in particular. Like I see the overall thing, right? Like little bits of this and that. We've been busy, so like I guess I'm learning a lot because I could see that really
So
helping in my attacks.
there is a skill element to it, though. So, for example, I'm
Well,
not
never mind then.
you're no So, I'm sure I've done this plenty of times, but I'm sure there's been a time in the past in one of your attacks where you've been doing a warden walk and you put down, like, a Yeti to funnel on the left side,
Yeah.
and the Yeti may have been outside of the warden's aura, or, you put down the Yeti on the left, you put your troops down on the right. Well, the warden's healed up, so the healers start looking for something else to heal. And for some reason, you're screaming at your screen because the healers decide to leave the warden and to start going over to heal the Yeti, which is going the opposite direction as all the rest of your troops. That same thing could
Yeah.
happen
Yeah.
with the giant if we're not careful. So because of that, like it's going to be a little more based on skill because if you're using, for example, the healer
Yeah.
puppet, or if you're doing a queen charge, the danger would be that your healers will leave the queen and then the
Latch
giant and the
on.
queen go separate directions. The healers stay on the giant and your queen gets killed early because of the giant, not in spite of the
And he'll
giant.
pull the warden,
Yes. I think
which
he's plenty of troop space, like 50 troop space or something like that.
because I've been having some like in the legends attacks or or friendly like accidentally pulling the warden over or now that you're saying that too, like yeah, I bet some of the times my healers went to him and sometimes they just go normally, but I'm like, oh yeah, no wonder that fell apart
Mhm.
because I bet they just grabbed him, not that they died and then moved to him, which like in part of attack, if you're not focusing on it, you're like, I'm not really sure what happened. They must have died and now they're headed over, but maybe they started heading over and then those troops
Or
died.
like let's say what troop are you using root riders right now mostly?
I don't even know anymore.
You're
Um,
non-event
yeah,
troops. Like
I like the root riders for now. I was about to kind of switch it up to the Yeti bomb and then adjust
mhm,
from there, but now that's getting nerfed.
mhm. And we could definitely so we actually called that in the last episode that we did where the 13 or 14 Yeti mites that come out of the backpack could now be cloned up to 42 Yeti mites
Yeah.
because the troop space was lowered from 3 to 1. Like Supercell realized that's a massive mistake.
Yeah.
And so they are literally having this new ability. So instead of like so they're raising the troops, the housing space of the Yeti Mite from 1 to 2, which means you're essentially going to get half of the amount of Yeti Mites through a clone spell as you could previously. I personally think this is going to kill it. Like I think you're still going to see
I was
Yeti
gonna ask.
blimps, but I don't think you're going to see the Yeti. I don't know what you call it, the Yeti clone bomb, where you don't clone the Yetis, but you try to clone the Yeti mites. And the reason that I think this is going to kill it is because even before, whenever Yeti mites were only one troop space, which they are currently as of this recording, I think it's changing tomorrow. Like you were still barely getting the targets down that you wanted in and of if you were going for the town hall. Like there were oftentimes when I was watching the shock video where he was talking about the Yeti clone bomb. He put spread out the clones specific equidistance, between each other, overlaying, and then you rage right next to the town hall, so that way the Yeti mites all congregate onto the town hall. Like a lot of times, even in Shock's attacks, and Shock's obviously a much better player than we are. Like he was barely getting the town hall down. So if that ability has literally been halved, I don't think you're going to see the Yeti clone spell chain anything like you did before. Now there could be some bases where it will still work, but it's not more of a this is the attack that I'm going to use in every single base, you know?
Yeah, And every time it's like I just about start to adopt something. It is kind of a lesson. Like if you see something super overpowered, just be ready to change.
Be ready. Yep.
So you think it's gonna kill it though, huh?
I think it's going to kill the ones. Well, I think we're still going to see cloned Yeti blimps, but I think it's going to go back to the way that it was implemented in the past. So cloned Yeti blimps have been a part of the meta for years and years and years. A lot of times, a cloned Yeti blimp would be used to funnel out a specific compartment for a queen charge or for a hero charge, hero dive into the town hall. Like you're still going to see that, but the focus is instead going to change to cloning the Yetis rather than trying to clone the Yeti mites, I think, because as you see with the cloning ability now, the focus was 100% on missing the Yetis, like not cloning the Yetis if possible, and only getting the Yeti mites to clone because that's where the power was. Like that's where all the destruction happened. I think it's just going to go back where your Yeti blimps, like if you're blimping into the town hall, it's not going to matter anymore. Just clone the Yetis if you want. Like it's still a powerful way to attack a base. You're just not going to have the crazy power of the Yeti mites, like we saw yesterday, for example, with Swimboy's attack. Like Swimboy hit a base, and he even called it, but he's like, "Holy cow, this is Yeti clone heaven!" He hit it, he cloned all the Yeti mites, and he took out 70% of the base with
Oh
the
my
Yeti mite. Just
god.
clones everywhere. Yeti mites like massively going all across. You're not going to see that anymore because literally the amount of Yeti mites that are available after the nerf is going to be literally halved. So it's going to be half as powerful as it was before.
Would it be worth it if you got 35%?
I still think that it's going to like I said on the right base.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be still be a powerful strategy. But then again, the question I think that players are going to have to ask themselves is if there's a pocket of the base that's ripe for a Yeti clone blimp where you're cloning the Yeti mites, well, can you get that area of the base with Zach Quake? Like, can you lightning it out? Or can you fireball it out with your warden? Like
Yeah.
it's going to be a comparison now, and players are going to have to choose and decide which one. When before it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna Yeti bomb every single base because it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Well, now I have to look at the base and say, well, if I could Yeti bomb here and get these targets, but if instead I Zap Quaked it, I would get these targets. Well, if I could get a fireball in there, I could get these targets. So it's much more at the appropriate level it needs to be for real strategy to happen.
Hmm. How many what's the minimum on a Yeti bomb? Like with spells? Like one rage, one clone? Or would you need
So
at least
typic
two?
so typically in the past it was just one clone. So it's one clone and one rage, and it's very so in 2021. This is kind of where the idea was introduced, where it started out with the cloned balloon blimp, lovingly known as the popcorn blimp, and that's where
Oh,
you would tome a blimp into the town hall, and typically it was 2 or 3 clones would be placed around the town hall, and they would clone balloons everywhere, and that worked really well against a base that had lots of high value defenses surrounding the town hall, because you could completely obliterate the core of a base by using the popcorn blimp. That changed when base builders started building anti-popcorn blimp bases to the clone super minion blimp, which is very similar to like a clone or a blizzard blimp or a clone super archer blimp, where players would get to a certain spot, drop the blimp right before the town hall, would clone the super minions, and then just completely destroy everything around that. Well, base builders responded to that, and so now kind of what the meta is you send in the Yeti blimp, you use one clone to make sure that you can get maybe the town hall plus the monolith, or the town hall plus couple scatter shots, like some high value but not so high value that you want to expend 3 clone spells or 4 clone spells, but 1
Yeah.
is typically enough. So I think we'll still see that in the future.
And that's, like with the event, right? Like I feel like I like I said, it got me out of my it is getting me out of my comfort zone
Right?
more than
Which
I'd
is a good
like.
thing.
Right. And like and so I'm playing with that and kind of it's probably something I wouldn't have really tried. You know what I mean? And now I'm like, okay, learning a little bit new skill set. Because I think there's some value that maybe even like with super witches or something.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you think differently. The one thing
Yeah.
that it's kinda taught me is I've been doing cane walks, and with the cane walk, because these troops take up so much troop space, like the disarmer, it's like 50 something troops, 60 troops, I can't remember how much it is.
60. Yeah.
So because it's 60 troop space, you literally have no room for funneling, no room for funnel troops, like maybe a couple
Yeah.
wizards. And I'm so used to being able to funnel super effectively that this has changed my perspective on how little needs to be funneled to get my heroes and troops to go the way that I want them to go. So I'm
Good
always the
point.
type of player who is overkill on funneling. Like if it's going to take 5 super barbarians and 2 loons to take down a certain section to funnel that out, well, I'm going to do what's necessary to make
Yeah.
sure that my troops go the direction that I want them to go. Well, with the cane walk, I don't have room for all that. And so I do the cane walk and I literally have this teeny tiny line that Kane has drawn out for me. And so I have to make sure that I put my king and my queen down in the right spot so that they go to the left and not get pulled over to the right and separated from, where I want my troops to go. Or same with like the disarmers. When I throw the disarmers down, I have to make sure that when I'm doing my cane walk, that he takes out these certain defenses so the disarmers will stay with the RC and the warden, and that I can tome on time. But it's such a thin line of funneling that I'm
Yeah.
not used to, and so I've had to look at bases differently, which I appreciate because now I can hopefully take that skill and say, well, it worked with the cane walk, can I
Yeah.
make this work with root riders, for
Yeah.
example?
I only need it to do this.
Exactly.
I only need it to go this way. And yeah, like funneling with barely like 20 troop space, if that,
Mhm.
I get what you mean. It's like, okay, maybe I don't need to overkill this first part. Maybe I'm bringing too much. And it does make me also think of like, back to the objectives, right? Like,
Mhm.
I'm not sitting there going, okay, here's my spirit walk. I want to do this and this. I'm like, okay, I just need to get this so I can funnel this and this. And instead of like, oh, it went this way last time, it went this way that last time. And um, so
And that's
take
actually
the step
that's new
back is really nice.
that's new perspective on the spirit walk too, because like one of the beauties of the spirit walk is the funneling capability because there was a spirit walk before the electro boots, for example. Like we would go
Yeah.
against clans that did spirit walks. I remember one specific clan that we went against that that's all that they did was spirit walks, but they didn't have the electro boots. So the beauty of today's spirit walk is because of the electro boots destructive ability, you're able to make this really, really wide funnel because that electro circle like destroys barracks and mines and like literally anything and everything that's in its path, like destroys it all. So it really, really sets the funnel. Well, am I allowing my RC to go too far to set the funnel too far in the future? And I'm putting more risk on my RC when I could actually
Yeah.
pull her out earlier, understanding troop pathing just a little bit better because of these event troops, and being able to utilize my RC a little more smartly because now I have a little better understanding on how funneling works because I'm seeing it from a different light in the cane walk and the disarmers.
Yeah. And like switching back over to hogs with that too.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's like, I totally get what you're saying. Cause it's just, yeah, it's a nice step back that yeah, just makes you refocus, I guess, and like think about things different. Because I went back last night and the first couple hits with my friendly, well, once I started thinking about it, then I had a really hard time. But right away I was like, yeah, the objectives, like, yeah, the spirit walk. Oh, maybe I don't need to, just like what you were saying. Oh, she's getting low. I'll recall her early and save one of my heal or one of my invises for later.
Right, exactly.
That's what I was, yeah,
Yeah, no,
thinking
that's
when you said
beautiful.
that.
So one other thing that and I obviously I knew this in the past, but one thing that especially our players are using a lot to help with funneling because we just don't have the funnel troops is utilizing the giant arrow to their advantage. And I need to
Oh,
look at that more because the giant arrow in and of itself will destroy so many buildings on its own across the map, like army camps and I can't think of mines and air, like there's a lot of buildings that the giant arrow itself will destroy. And rather than thinking of the giant arrow as getting specific targets, using the giant arrow instead as a funnel opportunity and looking at the base and thinking, I don't have to use any troops here because I can put my queen down on this specific spot and I can shoot out the giant arrow and bam, I have my funnel set. And when before I
uh,
may not have been comfortable with that because it doesn't destroy as much as Spirit Walk could. Well, now using the event troops, I have to be comfortable with a smaller funnel. Well, can I do the same thing with a giant arrow? And base builders oftentimes will not look at the giant, they will not think about the giant arrow as something that players will use for funneling. I mean, obviously, the best base builders will, but oftentimes base builders are only thinking about AD and air defense and hair blower placements as opportunities and trying to avoid those specific buildings from being able to line up the giant arrow with. Well, if
yeah.
a player's only using the giant arrow to funnel with, you could possibly get some really, really good value using the giant arrow to not get down one single defense, but to funnel out a nice chunk so that you can send your troops wherever it is that you want to send them.
Resistance is futile.
That's
I
the theme
mean,
of this episode.
it's like that is the one thing that one piece of equipment I have resisted. I mean, resisted so hard as to not even like level it up. I mean, I think it's level 8 right now because I'm like, I'm not sure you want me walking around with that thing. You know? I'm like
That
a
an
bull in
arrow
a
sticking out
china
of your
shop.
pants?
Yeah.
Just excited to see me.
Nice giant arrow.
Your giant arrow is tiny.
I got to get different sweatpants.
Somebody like Chewy has a max giant arrow, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Just a
The double
max.
G arrow. No. But yeah, like, and seeing that and being in these competitions in these like the Clash Worlds qualifier, whatever it is, seeing it work really well, seeing people try out those things, and then having switched it up and changing, like it is really cool and makes me want to try these different combinations. Um
Then it was
and to be a little
successful
bit
if that's
more,
the case,
yeah, to be a little bit more flexible. And it's, I've wanted to, but you kind of cling to stuff.
right?
Um and it with these, like the Clash Worlds has kind of given us, which would have been a different story in a, without the event, but we get to go up against these really tough clans and stuff and
Yep.
see how they're doing, that stuff.
It is super cool.
And so when you see things like that are just working, it makes me try not to cling to my struggling army so hard that I'm
Yeah.
gonna make work one day.
You've made it work. You've been doing amazing.
Not last CWL. Oh, this brings me to uh one. Here's my big complaint about the update and everything.
Hmm?
I love the army camp or the army training stuff a lot. Um, the interface, but WTF? Maybe I'm missing something. But do I have to attack a base to change up my friendly army? There's no friendly army tab.
I think that's correct. Like, I think you can adjust your friendly army based upon your army recipes.
Yeah,
So you change the army recipe, and then when you go to do an attack in a friendly war, you can choose which recipe you want to take with you into that specific battle.
yeah, it's a disaster.
Mm,
For me because uh you're switching back and forth. I don't if there's an imported army tab, there should be a friendly army tab still.
yeah.
Because you go into a tournament, or you switch like this happened to me this week in CWL. I found out later. I thought I just sucked. Um but I was going back and forth and I switched it up in I grabbed one of the armies that had no pet on the pet that the warden had was being upgraded. And so I'd
Right.
been working with it all day, right? And then or adjusting it, something happened and then I'm like, "Oh, here it is." And so I just think there just needs to be a friendly tab and because we're going to grab one going into a war attack or like a attack that we want like in a tournament and mess it up.
Yeah, well, and I think part of it is getting used to the change for me because, for example, there have been multiple times when I've been using an army, and up to this point, your hero equipment did not change. You just changed the troops and the spells in the
Yeah.
army. Well, if you use an army recipe, that changes up your hero equipment as well to whatever you set the recipe to be. And so there have been multiple times when I've gone in and I thought I've had the fireball because I literally just did a friendly challenge with the fireball. I look in my army camps, like I have that army in my army camps, but I failed to check to make sure that I have the fireball like in that army recipe. And I go into the attack and I hit the fireball and my eternal tome and healing tome go off. It's like, oh
Oh
crap.
yeah.
I totally forgot to check. So part of that for me is just doing the extra eyes on to make sure that the pets are what I want them to be, the equipment is what I want them to be, in addition to also checking the army.
Yeah.
And that's just been it's
But
just
we've
been a
got a
little change for me.
we get a lot of stuff to check though. Like
It is
they
true.
keep adding things to check. And so if it was just that friendly army, if it was just labeled like that, I I think it would help. Um what do you think about those changes overall? Like the user interface and
I really like it. I like the fact that it's more detailed, but that also works well with my brain. So I like the fact that everything is right there. Pets are right there. Hero equipment is right there. It's so funny, but early on in the change, I could not figure out how to change my pet on my hero. I had a pet upgrading, like you said,
oh yeah.
and I was looking everywhere. I went to the pet house, I went to the army training tab, like I went to I was like, I cannot change the pet on this damn hero. And I didn't realize that the pictures kind of merged together. So now obviously I know where to go. The pet is directly underneath the hero,
Yeah.
but initially I didn't see it. Like it was so well organized. Like they just kind of blended together.
Exactly. It should be. I couldn't even see
And
it.
and I couldn't and I was so frustrated because I couldn't change my pet. But I figured it out eventually. So because of that, I can know where to look. I
Yeah.
really like the fact that the equipment is right there. I can do a quick cursory glance. Okay, I have the fireball. Okay, I have, this and this on my queen. And I can look, okay, check my army. My brain likes that
Yeah.
because before
Yeah, I
you
think it's
the,
cool.
the equipment and the pets were on a different screen. So I had to go into the pet house, change my pet. I had to go into the blacksmith, change my equipment if I wanted to change it there. And now it's all in one place, which again, that's good for me, but I can see how that can be frustrating for a lot of players who were used to doing it the other way. And if you just click an army recipe and that changes up hero equipment, like I can understand how it would be annoying to have to go back and recheck and recheck and recheck if that's something that we're not using.
Yeah, like it. Yeah, old habits, right? Like
Right, exactly.
to if I just start with the recipe and go the other way, it'll be fine. Um,
Which is what I've had to get used to doing. I'm
yeah,
curious what your response is to the trophy changes. So they lowered the amount of trophies that player can get. Uh, and it doesn't affect us as much because we're in Legend League. We talked a little bit about it last time. I've had a little experience with it, but basically, if you get 99% 1 star, anything 1 star is only one trophy from now on. Anything 2 star, it ranges from 5 to 9 trophies. And then 3 stars now get the full contingent of medals. And I don't know the max, like 30 trophies is the max or something like that. Have you experienced that at all or heard any complaints or anybody talking about that in the clan?
just I think it was Ice Mania was talking about it last night because he was trying to get back up to legends or something, or he's staying in the sweet spot.
Right. And it's more
Or,
difficult to get up to legends now.
yeah, or maybe he's yeah, it was something like that. And he said, I'm trying to remember here that like he gets hit and they take kind of reminded me of the old days, to be honest.
Right.
He'll lose a bunch of trophies and he's got to attack like twice as much to get them back.
It definitely awards the more active player, which if you look at all the updates for the past 2 years or so, that has been what Supercell is going for. So hero equipment, the only way you can get ore for your hero equipment is if you're actively warring and actively getting your daily bonus. Like I
Okay.
think this is the
Yeah.
same idea to where if you want trophies, you have to actively attack and actively be in game. So before when we could pretty much maintain with 1 or 2 attacks a day, and like it wasn't that big of a deal, well, it's gonna be and if those attacks were 1 stars didn't matter, I still got 7 or 8 trophies, was still able to maintain pretty well. Well, now if you're not actively playing, actively learning the game, learning strategy, able to get the town hall down, like all of that stuff, well, then it is going to be more difficult. And I'm not saying that Ice Mania is this way at all,
Right.
but
Right.
it definitely awards players who are more involved with the game and learning more quickly than players maybe who aren't interested in learning how to attack as much.
Yeah, I think isn't he like a Town Hall 13, like riding on Legends or something like lower Town Hall,
Mm.
riding on Legends. They were kind of reminding me of the old days. Yeah, I guess it didn't affect Legends, right? Or are you seeing much of a difference in Legends?
No, I'm not seeing any trophy difference in Legends, but also trophies are reset. I was worried that, and I misthought of it, but I was worried that add so this would add a bunch of trophies to the player pool to the point, and I think this is why they made
Oh,
the
inflation.
trophy change, where all these trophies are being added to the pool, so there's going to be tons of trophies available. But then again, once that's negated by the fact that once you reach 5,000 trophies, well, then your trophies are capped out at that point. Now you earn Legend League trophies, but those trophies are fake in essence because
Oh,
all of those trophies are taken away at the end of the season anyway,
oh, I suppose.
and then you go back to zero. But will this result in higher trophies? Because if you have players that are able to get the more players that are in Legend League, then the more trophies that are available in the entire pool of trophies. So if there are more players getting to Legend League,
I never thought
then
about it like
would
that.
that mean that the top players have more trophies to win, which means that they're going to be able to reach higher levels at the end of that season versus before? Or opposite, if there are less players that are going into Legend League, well then that's less overall trophies in the pool, which means that the players before who could reach higher levels aren't going to be quite as high.
I
That
never
that's
thought of it as a finite resource.
that's just a thought experiment that crossed my brain that I was curious about.
Oh, that's cool.
Well,
That's very cool. Uh, have you used the new pet much at all?
no, so my pet house upgraded and I've immediately put it down. I haven't really been using my unicorn that much. So I personally have prioritized Sneezy for upgrading, so I have not had a chance to use it at all. Although, I mean, we discussed in the past, like it can be very useful for warden walks because the boogers that come out
Yeah.
will attract the red bombs,
Yeah.
which saves the healers. Like that's genius. And I for some reason I didn't really look at Sneezy. I didn't realize that Sneezy shot out boogers.
Oh,
I
you
thought
didn't.
I thought my thinking was that its power was that it blew.
Oh.
So I thought it just blows, and I was like, "Well, what in the world? If it just blows, it's gonna be hit by
I'm
every single air
definitely
mine."
upgrading that thing.
No, so that's exactly what I thought. Well, if it shoots out boogers, and that means those boogers can attract these air
Yeah,
mines, which that's absolutely amazing. And yeah, I definitely think that that's gonna be super helpful on the Warden. So I'm upgrading it right now, but I haven't had a chance to use it. What about you?
I love it. I was using it right away. And then just hero equipment or like hero potion it up because I like the ward and walk and it
Mhm.
just helps so much. My attacks were so much better. Just like with cleanup, those things, getting all like the boogers are all over the place. Um, eh,
Snot running everywhere.
so I to the point where I think he is going to level 4 right now
Mhm.
because I had um some potions and then I'm I used 2 books of heroes on him, I think. Wait, what level is he going to right now? He's going to level 4. Um and no, I used 1. And I'm going to use books of heroes on him.
Yeah, do what's important to you for sure. Well, and your heroes are max too.
Besides my
So
minion prince, but
you,
he's going to 80 or 90 87 right now.
I still have to do the analysis on the minion prince versus the king and whether or not like the king with the earthquake boots and spiky ball can get more damage than what is saved through the dark orb by freezing a large cluster of defenses. Like I need to do some FCs and compare the two, see which might work well for me. But I'm like you, like the minion prince is not maxed out either. So that's what I'm using my books of heroes on currently.
Yeah, with the 3 left to go, right? I'm like I could do the minion prince, finish him out, and I'll probably put another one on him. But my minion prince equipment is I do not have 2 maxed out pieces yet. So I'm like he's not a super priority because it's going to be I'm very close to having a second one. And I was going to ask you about that. Which piece would you if you only had 2, which pieces would you choose?
So if you're going to be using him with air armies, because I'm actually looking at doing a video on all the pieces of the hero, like each hero, and so I thought about the minion prince. If you're going to be using the minion prince primarily with air, well, either air or ground, the dark orb is the most powerful piece of minion prince equipment by far.
Got that one
Like
maxed.
that needs to be max first either way. If you're going to be doing air, I really like the henchman as a secondary option for an air attack. But if you're going to be using him with ground attacks, he needs that extra protection since he's the only fly other than healers. He's the only flying troop, quote unquote, in your army. Well, in that case, you need to max out the pants, the metal pants. That way, he
Ooh,
has that extra protection.
fancy pants.
I
All right.
there. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, I was just going to say that there is evidently there was the I don't know, the weight throw. I forget what it's called. The weight that he throws. There was like a minion prince warden walk that seemed to be working pretty well.
Ooh.
But I never dabbled in that, and I haven't seen much of it since. So I don't know how powerful that is. But that may be something to consider down the road. I just don't see it used at all, really, currently.
So
I forget
have you anything with the iron? Maybe the
what's it
iron
what's it called? The iron what? The Iron
the
Giant?
noble iron
Noble
and
Iron. That's right.
the metal
Yeah.
pants. Both of those so it's at they're just common equipment. So it's one the pants are at 14.
Yeah, so
My
for
henchman at
you,
14,
I
and
would
then
do the orb and the pants probably,
okay. But I
just
think
because you're more of a ground attacker.
I think I'm gonna take the action figure up to 21 first.
Mhm.
Right, that's the level it's capped at for hard mode, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
21 and 15.
because okay, yeah, he's got that much HP. Huh? Wait,
Interestingly enough,
why is he not leveled up?
what do you mean?
It says giant. Oh, never mind. Never mind. Okay.
Oh,
I was like, do you have to level him up separately? I was just looking at the screen there for it. And it just says there's levels on the giant
mhm.
and it just had the level 1. So I was like, wait, do you have to level research him, you know what I'm saying? But it's part of the equipment.
Oh, right.
I was just not thinking right.
So interestingly enough, on the action figure, the biggest jumps come above level 21. So it's
Really?
2,500 HP jump for every 3 levels. So it's 3 of them. So that would be 7, 24, 20. Well, I guess 18. So after 18, you see the biggest level 18, you see the biggest jumps of 2,500 HP, which is interesting because essentially at level 18, I didn't do the analysis at level 21. At level 18, the giant is essentially equal to 1 golem, but then at level 27, which is only, I mean only, but 9 levels higher, he's essentially equal to 2 golems. So he doubles his HP
Holy
between levels
shit.
18 and 27, which is a lot.
Yeah. I mean, mark my
That's a
words
huge.
here. This, if you want to not have to deal with the nerf, just keep him at level 7 or level 18 or 21,
21, yeah.
and that's where it'll come back to. I bet. Like, it seems like all the
Probably.
equipment comes back, gets nerfed to about that level.
I wonder too though, because it's an epic piece of equipment, that means that most players, like, it'll take them a good 3 months or so to max it out. So,
It'll be a
will
while.
we see massive player usage in 3 months? And then that's when we see the nerf versus right now, players who can afford to upgrade it to max by spending money
Do it.
already, well, they're they're gonna have to take, like, they're gonna have essentially 3 months of an OP piece of equipment before everybody else can catch up, and then number statistics start to go through the roof. So they essentially had a free 3 months of a super OP troop because they were willing to spend money on it.
Yeah, I suppose that it kind of almost has to work that way, right? Like it has to be
Mhm.
strong when you introduce it so that you can use it at the lower levels. And then once people get up there, then start to cap it. Otherwise, it just nobody wants it because it's worthless until
Yeah.
it's. Yeah, I'll focus on. I got mine up to level 17
So
because
I'm
I was.
finishing off my magic mirror first. It is so funny. We had that conversation yesterday about whether or not I should buy
Oh yeah, I was gonna
the
ask about that.
15 Starry Ore. I did not realize I still had Starry Ore left on my event track. And so after
Oh,
we talked about that, I completed an attack and I noticed that there was something available on my event track. So I went down and I clicked it. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't buy that Starry Ore because I got it was 20 Starry Ore.
was it 246 gems?
It was I had 275 gems for 15 Starry Ore.
Oh,
If I if I had bought it, but I ended up getting enough on the event track anyway, so I took my magic mirror up to level 26.
that's
I got one
awesome.
more level on that.
You would have felt so guilty.
I probably would have.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I'm glad that I focused up on it. I guess, um, and I guess I will start to work on my arrow too. Well, I suppose we should probably wrap up so we can get over to the Clash Worlds.
Oh, right, yep, right.
Shout outs this week.
So huge shout out to Swim Boy for a perfect CWL week. Big
He's a
shout out.
monster.
21 stars, massive monster. And then also in House of L2, we promoted, thankfully. But
Yay!
Sasquatch had a perfect CWL,
Holy
21
shit!
stars. So huge shout out. Sasquatch, of course, longtime L member. Huge shout out to
Returned.
him. That's amazing. So shout out to those guys.
Yeah. big shout out to Chewy for organizing, like coordinating throughout the CW on everybody else who was like helped and everything. And really what, oh crap, we should have talked about this tip, because this is one thing that I wanted to talk about was um, what I thought came out through the update and what we kind of saw the CWL um, above the coordination was how much easier it is to get troops or move between clans. And uh, I thought CWL between clans went much smoother, and people were, I felt like things were much easier to move between clans, like with troop donations. Oh, I'm gonna come over, you know, I don't have to wait for 2 hours in one clan and come over, and overlapping times and things. And so I thought it was really cool to see that part of it come together. I don't know if you felt that way. So um big shout out on coordination, and we'll have to talk about that. What that kind of opens up, I think, in another episode. But uh shout out to new people coming in. Shout out to everybody that is coordinating and participating. And I think we're running L Warborn and House of L and House of L2 and
Angry Wookiees.
Angry Wookiees.
Yep.
And it is amazing to me how you have like leadership and things, and everybody's just kind of um, flows together really well. And everybody's kind of steering the ship and helping out. And especially like during this worlds and these tournaments and things, this week has just been, last couple weeks has just been nuts. And so it's just really kind of cool inflow how things, it's like we don't have to worry if we're going over here, this will be kind of taken care of. Or do you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
the coordination is going really well. So um thank you to the podcast listeners for patience. We'll be working hard to have episodes every week. It's just a real busy time right now. But back on it. So uh of course there's 1,000 other shout outs. Shout out to Ice Mania, Destruction, Awesome Pie Guy. Yeah, and a big shout out to all the listeners out there. I hope spring is off to a great start. I'm looking forward to summer and being able to sit outside and clash on the deck.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming soon. So until next time, you can get a hold of us at clashofclanspodcast@gmail.com or clashofclanspodcast.com. I'm working through updating some of the stuff there so you can see replays and stuff too. Uh, follow Clash Tips on YouTube. See his content there. Awesome new graphic. That really pops.
Good. Yeah.
Really
Happy
cool.
to hear
I
that.
like how you really like that. Really neat. So, yeah, until next time, smack down and keep it clashy.
Back down.
Keep it clashy, everybody.
Skilly beep 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 skilly beep.